A samurai must always fight with patience and discipline, even when his opponent resorts to trickery.
Is this how you want to be remembered?
He defended us!
By spreading fear and chaos.
We are at war.
And you are acting like the enemy.
This is not our way. Your way can't save our people.
So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender?
You're now watching The Captain.
Ghost of Tsushima is a PlayStation exclusive that was released during the summer of 2020. It was developed by Sucker Punch Studios, who are most famous for their games of Sly Cooper and the Infamous series. It took Sucker Punch 6 years to develop this game, which is the longest the studio had ever taken to develop a game in its history. Previous to Ghost of Tsushima, the last game they had released was Infamous Second Son, which released in 2014.
Now, our game is inspired by history, but it's not, historical reproduction. We're not telling the exact tale of what happened in Tsushima. We're making a fictional tale. We're not creating Tsushima stone for stone with what it is in reality. We're just inspired by history.
It was a pillar, it was a mantra for all of us working on the game. How do we get the player to feel that they're in this time, in this era? And so that included how we named things. It included, what sorts of art assets we would build and include in the game, how we voiced certain things. The localization team in Japan did an incredible job just using language that was associated with the 13th century. So it was really a team-wide effort to create that feeling.
We want to make sure that the player can interact with the world around them very meaningfully, that it's not just sort of set dressing.
I grew up in a small town, Central California, and the movie theaters there didn't show, much beyond Bridge on the River Kwai and The Blob. So I didn't really experience foreign films until I found my way into film school. And at that point is when I was actually exposed to Kurosawa. And a friend of mine, John Milius, actually was a huge fan of Kurosawa's. And so whenever a film was showing, he'd say, "Oh, you gotta come and see this, you gotta come and see this." And after the first one, the first one I saw was Seven Samurai, and after that I was completely hooked. I said, this is really good. It's hard to really appreciate the true genius of Kurosawa, I think, until you've seen a few of the films, and then you've been able to see other films at the same time and be able to realize his visual style. My favorite of all time is really Seven Samurai. Then maybe Yojimbo, and then Kuro, and maybe Hidden Fortress at that. So it's not at the very top of my list, but I was impressed and I liked it. And it's really his visual style to me that is so strong and unique, and again, a very, very powerful element in how he tells his stories. I think he comes from a generation of filmmakers that were still influenced by silent films. Which is something that I've been very interested in, having come out of film school, that the visual graphics and the framing and just the quality of the images goes a long way to telling the story and setting the mood, and you're not going to find really a lot of filmmakers that have the facile quality with the medium that Kurosawa had.
The game draws great inspiration from Japanese filmmaker Akira Kurosawa, who's regarded as one of the most important and influential filmmakers in the history of cinema. His style permeates throughout the entire story of the game, and the cinematic set pieces that are used to push the story forward and then captivate the audience in a unique way. So much so that the game offers a Kurosawa mode, in which the game will replicate the aesthetic and feel of a Kurosawa movie, one such as Sanjuro, which is a story of a wandering samurai who's drawn into local politics. Now, the swordplay mechanics of this game is based around 4 different stances. Stone, wind, water, and moon. Now these 4 different stances are utilized to kill the different types of enemies in the game, whether it be enemies with spears, brunts, or enemies that just use daggers and are really quick. Now besides maximizing the efficiency at which you kill these grunts in this game, these stances can be used against the mini bosses that you find throughout the game. Now these mini bosses can be found in different beautiful locations throughout the map. There's cinematic fights that are there to test your skill with the blade, so you're not allowed to use any of the ranged weapons that you have at your disposal at any other part throughout the game. You're also in an encapsulated area that doesn't allow you to really run away from your enemy. These fights really put you to the test, and just like any other part of the game, the music is just as beautiful here and gives you a cinematic feel that makes you feel like you're in a movie like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Now the range combat in this game isn't as in-depth as the swordplay, but it's obviously because it's not the main drawing point of the game itself. All in all, this combat is amazing, and it takes some time to master all 4 different stances and using them in a great, free-flowing, amazing way. And I honestly can't see how they improve upon this system going forward with future sequels to the game. Depression seemed pretty rampant at this part of 2020 for a lot of people across the world. I myself was really forced to sit down and confront my mental health face to face, something that I had never really done before. Because any other point in my life, I could use school or use other tasks or like work to kind of cover up any mental health lapses I really had in my life. Because all that was gone, it was just me, my anxiety, depression, insecurities, all locked in one room every single day for that entire summer. And although I was locked in the house with my family, we all kind of were going through our own depressions at that point in time. So being there, I still felt like a prisoner in my own home in a sense, because I didn't really have any other outlets to kind of get this emotion out. And at that point in time, I had played a lot of video games, obviously, because there really wasn't much else to do. And I played stuff like 2K or maybe even Rainbow Six Siege with the homies that I would normally do that with. But after an entire month of just doing that every single day, that spark kind of started to fade a little bit for me. And because all these games started to kind of just blend together, and there wasn't any movies or TV shows really coming out at that point in time either, because COVID shut the world down, I was just in a state of limbo, where there was just nothing that was triggering me to have a spark of thought or emotion. By happenstance, one of my friends had told me that this game, Ghost of Tsushima, was coming out. Now, I had seen trailers and videos on this game a year or so before when it was first revealed, and I thought it was cool, but it had never really crossed my mind. But somehow, some way, I don't remember how, I ended up getting Ghost of Tsushima, and it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. I tend myself to love story-based single-player games. All my favorite games of all time, whether it be Assassin's Creed or the Mass Effect series, all have this in common. I just love character-driven stories that make me think and make me fall in love with characters. Another thing about me you should know that plays a factor into why I love this game so much is that my favorite era of history to kind of see depicted in media is feudal era Japan. Something about the honor of samurais or ninja or just the beautiful landscape and countryside of Japan at that point in time just really strikes a chord with me. It brings a certain level of inner joy and inner peace to me that I just can't really explain. It's just always been like that for me. So keeping those two factors in mind, while also keeping in mind everything you've seen up until this point about how this game was made and what it was modeled after, this was just a perfect formula for a game that I would adore. This game was just a really big help for me in a time of my life in which I needed a therapeutic outlet to kind of let me channel my emotions and channel energy that I couldn't really get out anywhere else. I can't thank anyone that had a hand to play in creating this game enough. It had a huge positive impact on me at a really tough part of my life, and it really means a lot to me that you guys put so much love and passion into creating such a project. If this game meant to you as much as it did to me, let me know in the comments, and even if it was just a fun game for you to play at the time, let me know that too. I can't wait to see what a sequel for this game has in the future and any other media projects attached to it. So the last thing I have to say to Sucker Punch Studios, thank you.
You're now watching The Captain.